Way, way back in the long, long ago, the time referred to in ancient texts as the early 90s, there was a previous adaptation of It, mostly known for Tim Curry playing the main villain, Pennywise the Dancing Clown. It was one of many Stephen King book adaptations to television, usually on ABC, usually in miniseries formats. We got lots of those back in the day, other than It, but It was such a big one because it taught an entire generation of kids to be afraid of clowns. And now this new generation, well, holy shit. Now, I want to say that I liked the previous version with Tim Curry, I really did. And if you recall, years ago I reviewed it and I gave it an 8 out of 10. But this new film is definitely, without a doubt, the real deal. And I don't think I could ever watch Tim Curry capering about as Pennywise and take it seriously now that I've seen Bill Skarsgård reach out of the screen and awaken the nightmares of everybody in the theater. I saw this movie in an extremely packed theater filled mostly with teenagers, and to say that there was a lot of screaming would be an understatement. So let's talk about the actual film. It adapts about half of the book of the same name, promising a sequel that will adapt the other half, showing the losers as adults in a rematch against Pennywise. The book featured a back-and-forth dynamic that shifted gears between the losers as kids and adults, but both movie adaptations so far have simplified it by showing one half with kids and one half with adults. Pennywise the Dancing Clown, or any number of aliases that it may go by, is some sort of eldritch demon that haunts the town of Derry, awakening every few decades to feed on the bodies and souls of the young. A group of young outcasts who call themselves the Losers Club band together to fight it, while also going through their own awakening, which I have to mention was something incredibly important in the book, but was left out of the previous adaptation. It is not only a story about unspeakable horror, but also about growing up, with each child having to face their own fears and real-world trauma to be able to face the abomination that is Pennywise. This manifests itself in many ways, such as Bill learning to accept the death of his brother, Beverly fighting back against her abusive father, Eddie standing up to his overbearing mother, or Mike facing the realities of adulthood that had been thrust upon him much earlier than in most kids. The kids are all cast pretty much perfectly, and well, when I say that they nailed it, they nailed it. Everything about this film invokes both the feelings and visualizations that I had from the novel. Even the soundtrack is spot on. If you've ever read Stephen King before, you might know that his novels are about 30% horror and 70% details, which is what makes him so effective. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, sometimes it takes that many to make you see an image the way that King intends you to see it, and that's why he can be so wordy. But it's also why he's so good at scaring us. The previous adaptation did a great job of getting the story right, but not so much the feeling of Derry, the locations, the seamy underbelly, the mixture of real-world human darkness and misery with an aeons-old clown demon rising to drag children and torture them to death. In the film, there are a lot of jump scares, lots of scary clown moments, lots of frantic energy and terror, but it also has those unnerving, gritty moments that are far scarier. The scene that unnerved me the most, by far, was a simple interaction between one of the kids and an adult. Nothing bad happens, there's no ominous music or crazy editing, and it doesn't impact the plot. But with one line, a minor character made me cringe in my seat because he displayed a much more real and very decidedly non-supernatural horror, something that King's novels are known for. It is almost a perfect horror movie, but for just one minor thing, a slight change to the structure of how it ends that bothered me a bit, which had it capturing Beverly and forcing the 6 boys to band together to save her. Aside from the trope of let's go rescue the girl, which is extremely tiresome, it didn't make much sense as Beverly was the least afraid of Pennywise and therefore he should have had the least power over her. And previously in the film, Pennywise had accomplished what he had set out to do by using fear to fracture the group. Giving them a reason to band back together seems dumb. It all turned out all right in the end as they rescue her some time before the final confrontation, so she got to take part in the final battle. So while it was annoying while it was happening, I understand why it was done, and it didn't really detract that much from what was otherwise an excellent film that is delightfully scary, a lot of fun, and actually also has some great comedy moments throughout it. Recommended for pretty much everybody, except Tanya, who's afraid of clowns. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.